You probably treat stress like bad weather, an uncomfortable state that rolls in, ruins your afternoon, and eventually clears up. But biologically, stress isn't just a feeling, it's a ladder. And right now, you are standing on one of its rungs. At the bottom, it doesn't even register as stress. It feels like drive. A slight, invisible spike in cortisol that sharpens your attention, tightens your focus, and quietly pushes you to get things done. Down there, stress is your secret weapon. But as you keep climbing, it mutates. The mechanism that was meant to protect you slowly starts taking control over your nervous system. It changes the rhythm of your breathing. It alters how you react to a harmless text message from a friend. It narrows your vision until absolutely everything feels urgent. You stop using stress, and stress starts using you. The terrifying thing about this ladder is that the ascent is completely silent. You adapt. You get so used to the constant hum of inner pressure that you start mistaking chronic tension for your actual personality. You might be dangerously close to the edge right now, completely convinced that you're just having a busy month. Let's break down the hidden stages of the stress response and find out exactly which level is quietly controlling your reality today. Level 1. When we hear the word stress, we immediately think of damage, exhaustion, or panic. But at level 1, known in psychology as eustress, stress isn't your enemy. It is your sharpest tool. This is the optimal zone of arousal. Biologically, your nervous system is dropping just enough cortisol and adrenaline into your bloodstream to clear away the mental fog, paired with enough dopamine to make the effort feel rewarding. You know this feeling. It's the slight rhythmic thumping in your chest 5 minutes before a high-stakes presentation. It's the sudden tunnel vision that kicks in when a deadline is approaching, and instead of freezing, you know exactly what to do. At this stage, your brain perceives pressure not as a threat, but as a challenge. Life feels like a fast-paced game, and you are the one holding the controller. You might talk a little faster, lean a little closer to your screen, and wake up before your alarm even goes off, because your mind is eager to engage. You are energized, highly productive, and completely in command. The friction of the world doesn't wear you down. It gives you the traction you need to accelerate. You feel unstoppable. The only catch is that maintaining this state is chemically expensive. But then, the atmosphere shifts. Welcome to Level 2, acute stress. Level 2. The challenge that felt so energizing at Level 1 has mutated into a cold, mechanical sense of urgency. You are no longer playing to win. You are playing not to lose. Behaviorally, the cracks are small but distinct. You start treating your basic human physical needs as mild inconveniences. Lunch becomes something you swallow hastily over a glowing keyboard. Sleep is no longer restorative. It is merely a forced pause between tasks, often interrupted at 3 a.m. by the sudden, jolting memory of an unwritten email. Your mind begins to feel like a web browser with 40 tabs open, and you can't figure out which one is playing the background noise. Underneath the surface, your nervous system is shifting gears. As your baseline cortisol elevates, your body is tricked into a low-grade fight-or-flight state. That sudden, tight knot in your stomach when your phone vibrates isn't just annoyance. It is your brain blurring the line between a calendar notification and a physical threat. Your breathing becomes shallow, trapped in the upper chest. The ultimate trap of Level 2 is that it looks suspiciously like productivity. You are still highly functional. You operate on a steady, invisible drip of adrenaline, pushing through the creeping fatigue, repeatedly telling yourself it's just a busy week. But you aren't thriving anymore. You are just treading water, completely unaware that the current is quietly pulling you further out to sea. Level 3. Welcome to Level 3, episodic acute stress. This is a critical tipping point. At this stage, chaos stops being something that happens to you and becomes your permanent baseline. You are no longer just surviving a busy week. You are living in a chronic state of emergency. Psychologically, your nervous system begins to adapt to the overload. It starts interpreting peace as an eerie silence, a suspicious sign that you must be forgetting something crucial. You become a professional firefighter in your own life, constantly rushing, chronically late, and always bracing for the next disaster. But living on adrenaline has a steep biological cost. Your body starts flashing red warning lights, a jaw locked tight in your sleep, tight shoulders creeping up toward your ears, and a low-grade exhaustion that no amount of caffeine can pierce. Because your prefrontal cortex, the logical regulating part of your brain, is completely depleted, your emotional bandwidth shrinks to near zero. This is why your temper becomes dangerously short. When your mind is drowning in an endless, looping to-do list, a loved one simply asking, "How was your day?" doesn't register as a moment of connection. It registers as a demand. It feels like one more burning fire to manage. You snap, you isolate, and you justify the friction by telling yourself you're just incredibly busy. Level 4. Welcome to Level 4. Chronic stress and systemic burnout. The frantic, nervous energy of the earlier stages is entirely gone. You've run out of adrenaline, and what's left behind is a heavy, lingering grayness. At this stage, your nervous system is no longer in fight or flight. It has collapsed into a functional freeze. You don't wake up feeling rested. You wake up feeling like you ran a marathon in your sleep. Sleep is no longer a restorative process. It's just a brief, unrefreshing pause in the exhaustion. The moment your eyes open, there is a crushing dread for the day ahead, a physical weight on your chest before your feet even touch the floor. Everything requires a monumental effort. Your cognitive load has maxed out, causing your working memory to fragment. You start losing words midway through sentences, staring blankly at your monitor, or walking into rooms and forgetting why you're there. Physiologically, your body is waving the white flag. Months of elevated cortisol have stripped away your immune defense. You catch every cold, struggle with unexplained inflammation, and constantly run on a deeply depleted battery. But the most dangerous part of Level 4 isn't the physical breakdown. It's the psychological adaptation. At this point, the suffering becomes invisible to you. You develop a subtle form of learned helplessness, slowly convincing yourself that feeling this numb, this trapped, and this heavy is just how adult life is supposed to be. You forget what it feels like to be naturally resilient, mistaking a biological system crash for your permanent identity. Level 5. Level 5 is the absolute peak, complete system failure. This isn't just extreme exhaustion. It is a forced biological override. For months, or maybe years, your mind has been ignoring your body's distress signals, relying on a toxic cocktail of cortisol and adrenaline to force you across the finish line. But at Level 5, the nervous system simply pulls the plug. You don't decide to stop. You are shut down. This is where the illusion of control finally shatters. The internal push-through-it mechanism you've relied on your entire adult life is suddenly gone. Opening a single email feels like trying to lift a boulder. Answering a simple question from a friend can trigger a severe panic attack. You might experience profound, empty depression or a sudden physical collapse that leaves you bedridden. At this stage, your brain has categorized your daily lifestyle as a mortal threat, and it is actively disabling your ability to participate in it to save your life. Your internal engine hasn't just stalled, it has melted. You can no longer work, socialize, or mask the damage. This is the ultimate danger zone. The terrifying reality of Level 5 is that a long weekend off won't fix it. You have fundamentally altered your neurological baseline, and reversing this level of burnout isn't a matter of resting. It's a matter of biological and psychological rehabilitation that can take years. But here's the paradox that most people get wrong when they finally crash. When you are buried under the weight of chronic exhaustion, the ultimate fantasy is always the same: a life with absolute zero stress. You dream of a flatline existence, no demands, no friction, no pressure. But biologically, a nervous system with zero friction isn't at peace. It's numb. Cortisol and adrenaline aren't just the architects of panic. They are the exact same neurochemicals required for passion, for flow states, for falling in love, and for pushing your own boundaries. If you completely sanitize your life of stress, you also sanitize it of meaning. The true psychological pivot isn't about eliminating pressure. It's about restoring elasticity. The danger was never the ladder of stress itself. The danger was that you climbed into a state of hypervigilance and forgot how to climb back down, eventually convincing yourself that the constant tension was just your personality. You don't need to burn the ladder. You don't need to retreat from the world to heal. You just need to remember how to descend. Stress is simply the energy required to meet the world, and you are the one who decides how high to climb and exactly when to step off.